Move on to the Tipperary Championship, and look, so much happened over the weekend. So the top seeds that are through from the 4 groups: Drummond, Lockmore, Tomi, Vera, Kildagan. The teams that are second seeds going through: Mullinahone, Holy Cross, Roscrea, and Thurles. So there's 2 preliminary quarterfinals, which will involve Nenagh and Clonoulty, who were they're going to be up against runners up as well. So you've got Nenagh against Clonoulty, against 2 of the runners up that we've mentioned there. And then in relegation, you're going to have JK Brackens, who they're getting that bit stronger now since Paddy Cadell came back. And as I mentioned to you last week, he didn't fully tear his cruciate, but he did do significant injury. But he's back and he's flying already, like both codes for Brackens. So they're on an upward trajectory based on what I've seen in recent times. Upperchurch are in there. Killarwan are in relegation, and obviously they're the current county champions. And Clonoulty, who are they've got a preliminary quarterfinal. So Clonoulty are both through to the preliminary quarterfinals and they're in relegation. That's the Tipperary Championship for you. That's what happens when you have the divisions as well.
I have a headache after what you're saying there. So they have a chance of still winning the championship and they're in relegation.
Yeah, but if they go on to win the championship, they're exempt from relegation.
But they have to win the championship to avoid the relegation.
No, so they can't be relegated if they go on to win the championship, but they're currently in the relegation battle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just in case there was any doubt about the madness that goes on in your flesh. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but like this is all a legacy of having the 4 divisions. And of course, it couldn't just be north, south, midwest, or sorry, north, south, north, south, east and west. It would have to be mid and west. So there is no East Championship in Tipperary. So everything is as clear as mud down there. But hey, we wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. Right, so just to go through some of the games, Moycarkey Burris, they beat Killarwan 123 to 121. And to be honest, Moycarkey Burris, they're unfortunate enough because they went out on score difference.
So are they just out, Shane? Are they just out?
They're just out. Yeah. If you finish third in your group, you're just out. So what was going on? I was watching the Tomi, what was the other game that was on at the same time? It's just hard to keep track of all the games that were going on at the same time. So Tomi Vera were playing Roscrea at the same time. And late on in the game, so there had to be a 6-point swing for Moycarkey to get through, because if they won, they would have ended up on 3 points along with Roscrea, assuming Roscrea lost. But there had to be a 6-point swing in terms of scoring differential for Moycarkey to go through ahead of Roscrea, just to keep this nice and simple. But at one stage late in the game, Tomi Vera had a chance to get a point, which would have meant a 5-point swing. And if Moycarkey had to go on then and get another point themselves, it would have been absolutely level. And the 2 teams drew, so they would have been on the same scoring differential. So they probably would have had to play a playoff. So it's that tight. Like the Tipperary Championship at the moment, and you can say, fair enough, there's not too many teams there that win the All-Ireland, but it's brilliant. Like this 4 groups of 4, even if you want to go down to the second tier and the third tier, the games are just so even across the board. Like, would you find that enough? Are you happy with the amount of teams that are playing at senior level?
It's 10 now, which might be just a little bit too much. When it was 8, I think it was perfect and it was really cutthroat. But it's a lot better than the 16 it was. I'll put it to you that way. Most teams could beat other teams on a given day. We probably have too many, but that's still an awful lot better than it has been in the past. When you're looking at most weekends now, and you're not saying X is going to be hammering or Y is going to be hammering. You're saying, oh, that's going to be competitive. Whereas a couple of years ago, you could have number 1 ranked team playing number 16, and then you're like, and you know what I mean? And that doesn't make it appetizing to anyone. It's competitive now. It's ultra competitive in Tip. Like, imagine, say, Killarwan are gone from being county champions to potentially been relegated, which would be an unmitigated disaster, and there's no point in saying any different.
Yeah, but they're getting players back, and I know they lost to Moycarkey again, so they haven't been going well, but I imagine they'll have enough to eventually get out there. But like the 4 teams that are in relegation, I'll just read them out again. Clonoulty, where do I have the list? JK Brackens and
Upperchurch, is it?
Upperchurch, yeah.
Like they're good teams.
In the county semi-final. Or was it? They were close to the county semi-final last year. Do you know, actually, I think the Dublin Hurling Championship is currently 10 teams, down from 16 teams, which it was a couple of years ago. And there was definitely a lot of an appetite to change it and to kind of lessen the amount of teams there, because there were some hammerings. There was teams being beaten by 45 points, I remember. I actually think 12 would be the right balance there. Like there's obviously a lot of clubs in Dublin, and there's a huge amount of tiers. But then actually the Longford Football Championship, and I'll come to a crazy result that we saw at the weekend, but 12 out of the 21 clubs in Longford are operating at senior level. Like when you can, so then when they go down to intermediate, the team that wins the intermediate tends to get absolutely hammered. So what we saw at the weekend was a 46-point defeat by Ballymahan, of course, of Maura Higgins fame from Love Island. Her team, Ballymahan, lost to Clongish 11-19 to 6 points.
Fair play to you for getting a Maura Higgins reference in somewhere there now. Fair play.
Any chance I can at all. But like Clongish, they hadn't even qualified for the quarterfinals, and they need to win their last game against Granard to be sure of going through. So that'll tell you it's not actually kind of, in terms of going form, the strongest team in the county championship. Now, maybe they'll win it, but they're not the strongest team in the county based on what we've seen in recent seasons. And they're winning by 46 points. And like last year, Killashee, who had won the intermediate, they went up, played one match, took an awful beating, and then conceded the rest of the games for the championship. So that would suggest that having 12 out of your 21 clubs all in the top tier is probably overkill. And it means that the gap is too big when a team comes up from intermediate.
Yeah, or would definitely suggest that anyway. Like, regards to like Offaly and Longford are similar type sizes. Like 8 to 10 is plenty at senior level, realistically. And you'd hope that if you tightened it up a small bit, that it would make the other championships more competitive too. Remember, we've had several conversations about the Dublin Hurling Championship, and it was, as you said, it was 16, and we were looking at these, eye-watering results, like, and a lot of games that weren't kind of good on the eye and wouldn't have much interest in them because you had a fair idea what way it was going to happen before you started. Whereas it's not like that now. It's much more competitive, and there are there's no turkey shoots anyway on paper or in reality, realistically.
Yeah, so I think for every county, the kind of challenge is to find that sweet spot number whereby you're making sure that the teams get enough games, but at the same time, you're making sure that there's no turkey shoots. And then when you have a dual county as well, there's even more to add in because you only have a certain amount of weeks. And if, for example, in Dublin, you have a team getting to an All-Ireland final, that's fewer weeks you have to run off your county championship. So it's not easy. We certainly wouldn't suggest it's easy. But Killarwan against Mike Harkey, they're going pretty well. I mean, it's Eddie Brennan's first year with them. I'm sure he would have liked to have gotten out of the group ahead of the Ross Gray team that he was involved with last year. But that won't be the case anyway. Tomi Vera, they seem to be moving very well. Jack Delaney, he got 1-3. Josh McCarthy, he was good in defence. Kevin McCarthy was popping over points for sport in the forward line. So I was quite impressed with what I saw from Tomi Vera. And on Tipcast there recently, we had Gareth Toohey, who does a lot of the commentary on the games. He was saying that he doesn't see Toom winning it this year, but he could see him winning it soon enough. But because it's so open, you just couldn't call who's going to win it at this stage. Drummond Inch are a team that a lot of people are sweet enough on, if we can use your parlance from horse racing. And like this was a first win for JK Brackens this year, 324 to 216. Like that's good old shooting there, especially against a team like Drum, who've beaten they've beaten Nenagh before this, and also Mullinahone. So
was there an element of Drum already been through, and not necessarily not putting out their full complement or whatever, but just that the fact that they didn't have much to play for and they're still going to top the group anyway?
Yeah, probably is a bit of an element of that. But at the same time, you don't want to lose momentum. As a manager, you're certainly telling your team, look, let's go out and win this. But maybe to some degree as a player, do you sometimes sort of rest a little bit on your laurels when you know you're already through? Or would you find that, I mean, you're more of a workhorse type player. Either you're going to go out and work hard or you're not going to give the team anything. So I'd say you have to have the same attitude every day anyway.
100%. I know you meant that as a dig or whatever, but it's 100% true. And if you're in any way off, you're in big bother. Whereas the classy lad can be a bit off and he can still get a couple of balls thrown out to him and throw them over. I wonder, is there anything with Drum maybe making more of a go at the football this year as well, maybe?
Yeah.
Is that something maybe that's kind of going into it as well, maybe?
Yeah, there's a bit of that too. And Brackens are also a very good football club as well. 3 first half goals were important for them here. Dean McEnroe, he scored after 10 minutes. Shane Doyle got one, and Aidan McBride as well. So at half time, they were up by 9 to 13 points, which means that Drum only got 5 scores in the second half. Their goals came from Seamus Callan hitting a penalty and Tommy Nolan as well. Tommy Nolan's been having a great season so far, and he was on Tipperary underage teams that Liam Cahill was involved in. So you know, he's a decent size of a player. He's definitely got the hands, so he could be someone that gets a go with Liam Cal later in the year whenever Tipperary get back training. ML89, this is obviously back to the championships again. He says, Loughrea and Thomas is the only county finalists of the last 7 years in Galway who haven't been down in Senior B in that time. Clarenbridge, Mellow, Gore, Thurles have all been or are in Senior B. So that's interesting. Nenagh and Mullinahone. 3 red cards in this game that all came late on for Nenagh. Like, so again, you might be talking about Drummond, say, look, they're already through. What did they have to play for in this game? And maybe they were a little bit off. Nenagh know that they have a preliminary quarter final, so maybe that kind of is a reason that they were a little bit off here. And they've had injuries in recent times. I think Mikey Heffernan's been injured. Certainly Jake Morris has been injured since he got that fractured jaw. So they weren't playing here. And like watching this game, Mullinahone had, I think, 1-3 on the board very, very early in the game. And it just, Owen O'Dwyer getting the goal there, it just never, I think he got the first one anyway, but he certainly got one of the two. But it just felt like Nenagh were off throughout the game. And then the red cards started to rack up. Tomi Heffernan got one for an off-the-ball incident. A ball was being delivered in, and then you could see in the pictures that there was a defender just down on the ground. Ben West got that red card for Dunton Owen Kelly as he went up the field to score that penalty late on. So, yeah, it was Owen O'Dwyer with the early goal. And then Keane O'Farrell for a chop on a defender who was, or maybe a midfielder who was coming out with the ball in injury time. He also got a red card. So it actually means that Nenagh are going to be very, very stretched now, heading into the preliminary quarter-final. We don't know if Jake Morris is going to be right. Maybe he will be right, because I think it would be 6 or 7 weeks at that stage. So hopefully he'd be right. But how much hurling has he done? Yeah. You know, like, so not having Tomi Heffernan, Ben West, Keane O'Farrell, you know, you're digging fairly deep into your panel, and having won the North and looking like, geez, this is a team that's in right shape to win their first county championship since 1995. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, couple of bad results, couple of big injuries. The North seems to have come at a bit of a cost to them as well. And all of a sudden they're digging pretty deep into the reserves going into a preliminary quarter final. It's going to be tough enough to kind of turn around, you'd have to say. One thing, you've seen a decent bit of him, Shane. I haven't seen too much of him. How's Barry Heffernan moving? Does he look back like to something like himself again after the cruciate?
Well, I only saw bits and pieces of this match, so I didn't see enough to truly say. But he looked to be moving well. Yeah, and he was back at centre-back. So we've seen him in more recent times. Like a couple of rounds ago against Drummond Inch, he was playing the half-forward line. And I just don't think it's a position that suits him anyway. I think he's always someone you want facing the ball.
He's a carrier. Ball. He's a carrier to me. Like, he carries ball. He's a brilliant carrier.
And a huge loss for Tipperary this past year after doing his cruciate last year. So I think like he's only going to get better, and like he's going to be in the next 4 or 5 years for him, he could be a huge player both for club and county. But yeah, so like I thought he was pretty good. But from the Mullinahone side, you know, Mikey O'Shea, he scored 4 points. Jack Shelley scored 4. I already mentioned Owen O'Dwyer, he got 1-3. Owen Kelly, of course, in the goals, but also refereeing from the goals as well. Kind of tongue in cheek saying that. But Mullinahone, they're moving nicely. Sean Curran, the centre-back as well. People might remember him from the county setup a couple of years ago. He was in there a few times. They're a nice, even enough sort of team as well. And will we move on to the next game, or are you happy with that?
Yeah, well, we've delayed the inevitable with Borrisoleigh for a good while.
Yeah, look, let's call a spade a spade. It wasn't great from a Borrisoleigh point of view. Thurles Sarsfields were very good, 220 to 111, and Borrisoleigh got a very good start when Dan McCormack he got in for an early goal, but you know it was just complete takeover from Thurles from then on. I felt Darius Dakelum, he was excellent. He scored 6 points. He's the recent under-20 Tipperary captain, and I'd imagine he'll be parachuted into the senior setup very quickly, try and get him up to speed, size-wise, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Borrisoleigh always struggled. Conor Lanigan turned one of the Borrisoleigh defenders very nicely early in the game and set up a goal for Paddy Creedon. He finished quite well, actually. Had to take a nice touch. Jody Harkin was coming straight out, but nice little finish there. I think Ronan Maher just got on too much ball. Just, you know, Borrisoleigh just really, really struggled. And I suppose the thing from Borrisoleigh, people would say All-Ireland finalists just a couple of years ago, but the unfortunate truth of it is some of the players that were keyed in, are, you know, they're a couple of years older. Some of the lads who were coming through in the last 3 and 4 years who needed to take over the mantle haven't quite done that yet. So it's kind of leaving Burris in that. And there's a few lads who've got abroad as well. The likes of Niall Kenny, such a huge target man, he's not there. Kieran Maher, who people might remember scoring the goal against Ballygunner in that Munster final at the end of 2019, he's not there either. So for Borrislee, it started at an unfortunate position where there was a lovely little window where everything clicked nicely to get to that All-Ireland final. But now it really does need the younger lads to take over the mantle. But to be fair to Thurles, that's a great result. And when you look at how they played against Kildangan a couple of rounds ago, started out brilliantly, but they were completely pasted for the rest of the game, I felt. Like, they're looking good all of a sudden. And there's not too many teams who have the forward options they have. And Conor Stakelin was mostly in midfield, but like, even look beyond him, you've got Aidan McCormack. Dara Stakelin seemed to be far more, he was playing up the pitch. Stephen Cahill pitching in with points from midfield. Like, Paddy Creedon only got the goal, but he's there as well. So I think they can feel optimistic going ahead for the rest of the season.
It's a bit of a statement win, you'd have to say, and it's now is the time. Now is the time you want to start humming. Realistically, the first round is grand, and you want to get moving, I suppose, with a win. But now is when you want to start humming. You want to try, like, it's the opposite of Nenagh. They're Thurles are coming into form. They're relatively injury free. And they have a big result, and they're obviously after getting out of the group convincingly enough too. So, and as you said, Paddy's actually in charge, is he?
He's manager, yeah.
Busy man. Between the Tip, but like, he obviously hadn't had a night off between being involved with Tip as a coach, a selector, and being involved with Thurles. He's gone straight. He went straight from playing straight into management. Ray Gallagher might give him a call, maybe, actually, because he's doing the same, obviously, in Cavan. But fair play to him. The mantle was there to be taken on, and he's taken it on fairly strongly.
Well, the blow he had by being told that he had to retire instantly, and from club as well, you can imagine that this is a great thing. I think I've seen him do stuff like marathons and stuff like that, or maybe half marathons from his Instagram. But maybe this is one of those things that keep yourself busy and you don't dwell on the thing that kind of frustrates you. I'm sure he would have loved to play on for another. He could be one of those lads playing well into his 40s that we've talked about already. But how interesting is it that, he's a player who's played fullback loads of times over the years. That's where he was playing for Thurles at the very end of his career. That he now has Dennis Maher playing fullback. What do you make of that?
Yeah,
you wouldn't have seen it coming.
No, it's not something I would have seen coming. He was really good a couple of years ago, full forward, wasn't he? And he was called back in. He was called back in with Tip on the back of it. Yeah, listen, the thing is, and I think Richard Hogan had a comment in there, switching lads, particularly from forwards to the backs, that at club level can have a really freshening kind of a thing. When when a new manager comes in, you sometimes you need to do that. Obviously Owen O'Donnell's operating at full forward for a while as well, so that's kind of something different that maybe he hadn't been doing. It can kind of re-energize the team. It's not like county where you generally play the same lads in the same positions for their whole career. At club level, you can go from, I played cornerback for years, I ended up centre forward for a couple of years, and it's just a different focal point for the team, and maybe a different focus for me or whatever. But it can regularly happen that lads are moving from one end of the field to the other. But it wouldn't have been one that it would have. It definitely, Dennis Maher back to full back wouldn't have been one that I predicted. I put it that way.
Yeah, and to be honest, when I saw him centre back a few games ago when Ronan Maher was out against Kildangan, I wasn't much impressed by that performance. But there were down players as well. But he was very, very solid against Borrislee. Now, Borrislee were disappointing, so how will he go there if he's got a bigger challenge against a team with a livelier forward? Like, he's a good player, so there's a fair chance he'd be able to respond. The other game in that group, then, Kildangan, they ensured that they qualify with a 25-17 win over Clonoulty Rossmore. It's only, 5 years ago since Clonoulty won the county title as well. Dan O'Mara, 3 points here. Sean Hayes, 3. Billy Seymour, he scored 3. And so not brilliant for Clonoulty, but they're in that relegation battle now. At the same time, they have a preliminary quarter final. So, things are both looking up and looking down for Clonoulty at the same
Literally.
Yeah. Holy Cross, they were beaten by Templederry. I'm not sure too many people would have seen this one coming. So 127-123. Sean Ryan, he was excellent for Templederry there. They had a 15-8 lead at half time. And that was kind of, like, from what I saw a nice bit of this game. Kyle Barrett was wearing number 2 but playing centre forward. We're just talking about that exact thing of you being the corner forward and moving up to centre forward. He was doing that. Now, he's had some really good games, but he was in a position where he had a couple of shots just before half time. This game was on in Borrislee. playing down the hill, where generally you'd really fancy yourself down the hill into the scoring goals there at Bursley. He had a couple of wides before half-time. He was then done for over carrying the ball when he was looking to win a free. And just Tipperary got a bit of a run just before half-time. Now, to be fair to Holy Cross, they're still through. I think this group finished up with 3 teams on 2 points, and Holy Cross managed to get their way through just by a dint of scoring difference. But like, they've got Brian O'Mara at centre back. And, you know, I've kind of, obviously Tipperary won the game and all that, but geez, he was getting on so much ball. Can you imagine physically coming up against him at club level? Because he's just a fair old tank.
Well, it'd be tough going. I tell you what, obviously Barrett's happy enough to have him on his own team. But imagine, you know, a converted cornerback ending up centre forward on this kind of beast of a lad. I always found that it was grand going up centre forward when you're marking an average enough kind of a centre back or something, a lad maybe that was a converted wing back or cornerback. But if you were marking, an out and out centre back or of county standard, he's played in that position all his life. You haven't played in this position for long at all, and it's just way more experience than you, way more know-how. Particularly, I always found, particularly under the high ball.
Yeah, for sure. So that's Holy Cross through, but also for Tipperary. Shawnee Rhino had mentioned he played well. Colin Murray, Brian Stapleton, they were all excellent. And for Holy Cross, Darragh Woods, Barrett was very good, and O'Mara, who I've already mentioned. The final game then in Tipperary Senior, Lockmore beat Upperchurch 2-15 to 17 points there. Lee McGrath's goal after the break, that kind of ended things. John McGrath, he got a penalty after 22 minutes. That put them 1-7-4 ahead. Ed Connolly, he scored 4 from play. He was kind of best player for Lockmore. But also, Noel McGrath was good. Brian McGrath, Tommy Maher, Kieran McCormick. And Pádraig Green hit 10 points for Upperchurch, 7 from place balls. And a couple of other lads who were prominent, Keith Ryan and Paul Shanahan. So
Kieran Connolly, Shane. Kieran Connolly. Is he playing away at the minute?
Do you know what? I didn't see any of this game, but I know he has been back. Like, he'd be a very important player. Like, he's had a lot of injuries already, and he'd be a very important player for Tipperary to bring through. Like, it's good for Ed Connolly. He did the cruciate last year he did the cruciate that he's back playing now? Maybe it was even the year before. I'm not entirely sure. But he's back playing well as well by the looks of it. Who would you predict to win the Tip Championship? I suppose, like everyone else, not a clue.
Well, I thought Kildangan would have added to the 2020 title by now, and it's getting worrying that they haven't from their point of view. I couldn't confidently. I probably would side with Kildangan, but listen, I thought Kildangan were going to beat Kilruane both times last year, and I thought they were going to win in 2021 too. So listen.
Yeah. Hey, Richard Hogan asking, how's the Whitehall project going, Shane? And then Adrian McGrath follows up, the Whitehall manager, a madman though. So
he speaks the truth.
You'd agree with that, you would.
Sure, listen, we're all a bit mad in our own way.
Well, to be involved in hurling, you have to be half mad, don't you?
There you go.
Yeah.